this. Good?
All right.
Okay, so these are my 5 rules to rescuing a dog, okay? They also very much line up with how to raise a dog so they never need to be rescued. Most dogs, and we don't know his story, right? We don't know anything, right?
Right.
Most dogs had a home, and I'll tell you the exceptions. They had a home, and they were surrendered. And the reason is because they were nervous and anxious, they were hyper, they were too aggressive and nippy and playful, they didn't listen, they were pottying in the house. There was something that the owners were unwilling to accept, and as a result, they gave up. They threw their hands up. The other exception would be that a dog was born in rescue from a mother who was rescued, who was already pregnant. Many dogs go and abandon their pregnant dog and say, whoa, I'm not having puppies, because they let the dogs hang out behind the shed. I don't know how that happens, to be honest. It never happened to me. But anyways, so these rules apply to how to raise a confident dog, how to rescue a not confident dog, and everything in between. He's 4 months old, and so I would say he has a year of imprinting ahead of him. Imprinting is the stage of development where everything he learns is his truth, okay? So we want him to experience things right now for which are worth repeating. We want him to find value in trusting us and following our lead, and we would like for him to, in that, have the confidence to control himself. Dogs who are not controlling themselves are not asshole dogs. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. It's a lack of trust that has them feeling so panicked and so committed to chaos that has them acting out, okay? So what I teach you is really based on relationship. Dog training is easy. Animal behavior, the psychology behind what this dog needs, that's complex. Why is it so complex? Because we grow up in a culture who's been speaking for dogs for ages, and many people are saying or believing or writing, if you go online or you watch some YouTube videos, what supports their way of doing things already. You know, so instead of adjusting your beliefs to the truth, you adjust your truth to your beliefs, okay? You know, we live in a world that's so obsessed with ideologies, right? Are you Democrat or Republican?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? You're a human being. Are you black or white? What the hell does that matter, right? So, do you believe in purely positive training or punishment training? You say, whoa, whoa, whoa. The second we start talking like that, we're dumbing down the whole process. It's not that simple. You don't just decide that I'm going to be purely positive. What happens when the dog chews the leash? There is no good answer for that. You know what I mean? What happens when the dog does something good and you are a punishment type of trainer? You can't punish them for doing something good, right? So as soon as we start saying, are you positive or are you punishment? You're dumbing down a much more complicated thing that deserves our work, our effort. So, number 1, the behavioral process, which really I could also call the communication process. You were saying yes outside when he was following you. Yes, good boy, Max. Yes, good job, right? And petting him. There's a variety of ways to say yes, but the point is to reinforce. And then there were times you were saying no. He was chewing on the leash. He was digging up the ground. He was spinning and getting himself all tangled. He was fighting you on the leash and trying to back out the leash, which he did earlier. Isn't it interesting how he backed out one time and he was like, oh, I'll do that again. Isn't that interesting how just hours later, he remembered that, so to speak, you know? Which is why it's so crucial that you control your dog experience. Your dog can only learn what he practices. If you understand that, then you also understand that he only learns what he practices. But you also know that he always learns what he practices, right? So earlier you said, yeah, he got out of his collar, and I said, oh, don't let that happen. Well, I got a fenced-in yard. You didn't say that, but I'm speaking for you. I got a fenced-in yard. That doesn't matter. The fence determined whether or not he got hit by a car. The fence determined whether or not the neighbor's dog came over and attacked him. The fence determined whether or not he ran and jumped in the lake. Having gotten off the leash while with you, and him feeling inclined and compelled to get away from you is the issue. Whatever happens next is a consequence. The issue is the dog trying to get away from you. So we tightened the collar a little. We got it to, it could be a little more snug, but we got it to where it's not coming off too easy. And the bottom line is now you're able to use the leash to post. So when you're out on a leash with him, side note, you post. That means that you hold still, nice and sturdy, and you just block the experience of him manipulating physically. All right? The reason is not because we don't love him and we don't want to be equal creatures and say, where would you like to go? We'll get to that. We're out on a loose leash hike and he wants to go over here. I'll be the first to bring him over, okay? But right now, he's in the first few days of life with you and he wants to know and needs to know, are you his teacher or his friend? If you're his friend, who will be his teacher? That's the problem. If you're his teacher, you can also be his friend. But if you're only his friend, it's going to be hard for you later down the road to say, whoa, 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 I want to be your teacher on this topic. This can't go without. You're going to say, no, you're my friend. Don't overstep, okay? So it's important that we be his teacher. Why? There's a lot to learn. If there wasn't a lot to learn, then he wouldn't have been up for adoption. He would have already learned it. He'd be learning it. He's 2 months into the stage where he already would have been with his owners. You know what I mean? So whether he already had an owner or not, we're 2 months late. We're not really late, but to prove my point, we're a little late. So when you said yes outside, because he was following you, you were adding value to the fact that when you're on a leash, I want you to stick with me. You belong with me. We're a team. Okay? When you said no, you were devaluing him trying to get away, as he did earlier this morning, which we can't have happen. You're devaluing it because it's a lack of trust. And then you say, or some stranger says, how's he supposed to trust? He doesn't know you. If that's our mentality, when will he trust? Because the idea that the dog will learn to trust is absolutely wrong. If we let them figure things out on their own, why would they learn to trust? They're going to learn to be impulsive. They're going to learn to figure it out on their own. They're going to learn to pull harder to find out the answer to something. They're going to learn to find out the answer by going to it. We want him to find out the answer in part because he turned to us and let us be a part of the experience. You follow me? Mm-hmm. I said before, trust is built. You create it. I said that at one particular example. We were outside and he was trying to not come in the door. You posted, and the way that you posted was in a way that there would be pressure as long as he fought you, but the pressure would go away when he stopped battling you. What would have to happen then for him to turn off that pressure on the collar as he pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled? What would have to happen?
Trust.
Exactly. If you weren't so smart, you would say he'd have to stop pulling. And then I would say, what would that necessitate? Trust. So when we give pressure, I've used that word quite a bit, what do we say when we give pressure?
No.
What's the word? Exactly. So he's chewing on the leash. You say no, negative marker. Why do we say no? Quite simple. I can say no from here to there on my way to him. So now when I get to him and I apply leash pressure, it's connected to the negative marker no, which came when he started to chew. The timing of when you say yes and no to a young developing creature is so important. Timing, timing, timing. You can't reflect later on what happened at breakfast, right? My 4-year-old's in kindergarten. First day of school, second day of school, he got in trouble for pushing a kid. He's a very physical kid. And we talked about it when he got home. And I'm his stepdad. So we talked to me, his dad, and his mom. And he was different for each conversation, interestingly enough. Point is, we could talk about it. you can't talk to him later about something from earlier. So you're either adding a negative or positive marker, or you're not. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
The behavioral process is you saying yes or no, timed perfectly, if possible, to the start of a wanted, healthy behavior or an unhealthy, unwanted behavior. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
The solution for when we're unavailable to give this kind of information is very simple. Stations. Stations is our second rule. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But when he's doing something healthy and wanted, something you asked him to do, something positive, something overcoming his fear, yes, good boy, and praise and treat if he'll take it. When he does something unhealthy, it's rude, it's manipulative, it's untrusting, he's not following you when he's supposed to be, I want you to say no and devalue it. In this case, you're using light leash pressure. No jerk, smooth, little tension, hold. He's still comfortable, but it's telling him something, right? And then he changes his behavior, pressure off. This is not even meant to make him uncomfortable. We'll get to giving pressure to make him uncomfortable if and when we need to, right? Because that's not up to us. We don't just arbitrarily do whatever the hell we want to do. We let the dog tell us what they need, and that's responsible, respectful, loving ownership. So when he does something unhealthy, like barking, whining when you ask him to go in his room, chewing on furniture, digging up the yard, chewing on the leash, fighting you to not follow into the room, things like this, you're going to give pressure, and usually it's going to be light leash pressure, which is also directive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you gave him pressure at the stairs, you not only gave him some pressure to indicate to him, hey, we don't do that. I'm your teacher. He says, well, I don't know that. Well, keep paying attention, you will, right? It also was directional, because the direction that he needed to travel towards in order to turn off that pressure was the direction you were going. So what's the message over the next few days and weeks and months? You're with me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you struggle to follow me, no harm, no foul, but there will be pressure. And when you overcome your lack of confidence, your lack of trust, and you do follow me, the pressure will go away. Pressure on, pressure off. When the pressure turns off, you'll know what I wanted, and you'll have controlled your impulses and overcome some of your worries and your negative insecurities to turn off that pressure. All right? To wrap up this topic, when we give pressure, and this is a very powerful way to look at it, when we give a dog pressure, we are creating a problem for which the solution to is the betterment of their mind and body and soul. Follow me? So he's nervously insecure about not coming inside on the leash, which is lack of trust for you, being he's just met you. And if you stop and you honor it and you go backwards and you start getting bacon and start jumping through hoops, then he never had to overcome that lack of trust for you, which means he didn't learn to trust you more that day. Okay? When we apply that leash pressure I'm teaching you, just steady, light leash pressure, we're mostly just holding him accountable to the fact that we're not going to be moved backwards, although I'm not going to yank you forwards. Okay? We call this posting, right? When you did that, you presented a problem. Okay, now what do I do? Oh, I stepped forward and that pressure was gone. He would have overcome his insecurity and his impulse to escape you by turning off that pressure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying too much?
Nope. Okay. Makes sense.
So, moving on. That is probably the singular most important thing you can do, is apply praise and pressure to positive and negative behaviors, using the words yes and no, unemotional. Got it?
Got it.
Let him tell you when he needs pressure. Let him tell you when he needs praise. This means you're not giving him a whole lot of affection for no reason. The reason is it's very hard to ask him to work for $1 if he gets 500 a day for free. Nobody's working for free for something lower than what they get for, you know what I mean? No one's working hard for something little when they get everything bigger for free. Look at economy. Look at people on unemployment. Look what happened during COVID. I used to be a manager of a team of personal trainers. Half my staff didn't want to come back because of the money they were making on the government. It's like, that's going to run out. And you're not going to come work for me then. So, anyhow, can't build a work ethic in a dog when everything that they should work for is free. And I don't say should like in a sense of like dominance. I say should like it's a living, breathing creature that needs some purpose. You owe this dog a purpose-filled life, which means obligation. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
You're a very disciplined person. Has everything to do with your success and the way you sleep peaceful at night. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
It's because of your discipline. And if you look back in your life and times when you struggled with parts of your life or parts of yourself, you overcame it with discipline. It was your discipline to get up at this time and get to the gym. It was your discipline to do and not to do certain things that you said, I got this. But until you have discipline, you're just hoping and praying, and that's uncomfortable. So we're asking of him what we know is good for him, which is to be disciplined. Don't do the things that get pressure. Keep doing the things that get praise. Now, if you're always giving the dog praise, do you see how now when you give praise, it doesn't really connect the dots?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, he said good boy, but he says good boy all day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's important that you hold back just a little. I'm not saying don't be loving, but try to reserve some of your affection specifically for moments when you asked him to do something. What are some easy ones? When you take the leash and put it on him, he struggles to follow you out of this crate. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So in the 5 minutes leading up to that, maybe don't give any free affection for no reason, knowing you're about to take him out. Hook him up to the leash, and now try to get him to come out. Now when he comes out, yes, good boy, pet him and celebrate. Your affection now will also double as a reinforcer for him having impulse control enough to overcome his nervousness, which lends itself towards trusting you next time. By reserving that affection and just changing the timing of when you give affection can really be a big deal for him, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we talked about the behavioral process, which means praise and pressure, which is you saying yes and no and making something pleasant or unpleasant. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing you learned today. Praise and pressure. The timing is very important. We'll get to the intensity later. Right now, let's get the timing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 2, stations. Right now, he's in what we're going to call his pen. Call this a playpen. This is a crate. We're going to order some items on Amazon, including a chew-proof tether, which is kind of in between these and free. So he doesn't have walls around him. He's tethered to a door or to the leg of a couch. And he has a 12-foot circle to roam in, or 6-foot half circle, depending on where you anchor him. And so he doesn't have the walls keeping him in. He has more available behaviors that he could choose, but he's still not free to go in the other room beyond the carpet. He's still not free to slip out the door when someone comes to visit. He's still not free to follow you all around, because the day that you find him following you everywhere is the day you're going to start to want to use stations a little more. If he's following you on his own terms, because he can't be alone for 5 minutes, but then when you put him on a leash and invite him to join you, he fights you. You see the problem there?
Mm-hmm.
That's flip-flopped. Okay? He's supposed to be independent of you when nothing concerns him and is not involving him, and be peaceful and independent. But when invited, eager to join you and be a part of your routine. That's what we would like, which is the opposite of what you see with a lot of rescue dogs. So stations is used for 2 reasons. 1, control arousal. There's going to be moments when the dog gets really excited. Not when he's sleeping at 4 months and he's developing, but there's going to be times when the dog gets really excited. And should you have a pen, a crate, or a tether, the excitement will be naturally curbed and controlled with the boundary without any effort from you. So arousal is much more controlled when a dog has a boundary, which we call stations. Number 2 reason for using stations is that you can better predict and control what the dog experiences. For example, we have owners who are struggling with potty training, okay? And you haven't had him long enough to know. He's barely eating, so he's not shitting on the floor clearly, right? But let's see once he gets to eat and treat training, and does he hold it? Does he just let it go? So owners are struggling with potty training. Well, the dog's a lot less likely to go potty in a pen or in a crate. So the behavior of using the bathroom on the floor is much more naturally mitigated by using a pen or a crate with no conflict or effort on your part. So this is called stations, right? Puppies, let's talk about potty training, because he seems like he's doing pretty well, but once he starts to pee on the floor, then you're gonna say, oh, never mind, and now he's not doing well, for whatever it's worth, So we haven't had him long enough to know. That's the moral of the story. So here's how we potty train a puppy. We don't use pee-pee pads because that encourages potty in the house. And if they're pottying every time they have to go potty, are they learning to hold it? No. They have to learn to hold it. That's what potty training is, right? Dogs don't pee on the floor because they know we don't like it. They pee on the floor because they can't hold it. If they could hold it, they would. Because who wants to pee where they're laying? Nobody. Who wants to pee on their soft bed? No dog wants to. It's that they can't hold it. Later on, it could become behavioral issues. But anyways, so the dog is less likely to pee or poop in the pen or in the crate, and therefore they should only be free outside the pen or crate after they've gone potty outside. So from here out, he's only free out here for short periods of time, partially for potty training, partially for mental, emotional development, independence, confidence, individuality, okay? Not being too reactive and impulsive, getting the proper amount of rest that he needs as a 4-month-old puppy. All these things tell you use stations, okay? So this is stations, but it's also potty training. He is only free 15 to 30 minutes at a time after he's gone potty outside. So in a few minutes, I'm going to leave and you're going to take him out to go potty. If he doesn't go potty, he comes in and goes in his crate for 15 minutes. And he comes out, he goes potty. If he goes potty, now he gets his half an hour free time. If he doesn't go potty, back in the crate. Got me?
Mm-hmm.
That's potty training.
Okay.
He's very, very, very unlikely. There are exceptions to this, unfortunately. He's very unlikely to use the bathroom in the crate. So when you think he has to use the bathroom, but maybe you're going outside and he's distracted or he's a little too nervous to get his business done, which is a little bit of what you're seeing. You're seeing him go out there and manifesting and facilitating such chaos because it helps him overcome some of the quiet nervousness that he practices inside. He gets outside and all of a sudden he gets to breathe and flex and let it fly. But unfortunately, he's not doing potty when he's supposed to. That's going to make potty training difficult, hypothetically. So follow this protocol. He's in a pen or a crate for 30 minutes to 2 hours. Depends on if you're working, depends on if you're home, depends on whatever. If you're not home or you're sleeping, crate. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
It's quiet, it's dark, it's structured, he feels safe and comfortable in it, and I have a feeling he spent a lot of time in a crate so far in his life. He's comfortable with it. No reason to change that. You don't know the amount of people who would take the information or the assumption, the assumed information, that he has spent quite a bit of time in a crate so far in his life, and therefore not use a crate. He's already comfortable with the crate. That's a blessing. Don't get rid of the crate. Use the crate. Around 9 months, 12 months and on, if we determine we don't need the crate, I'll be the first one to say put it in the basement. I promise you. Let's give it the first year. Now, that doesn't mean that 6 months from now he can't be sleeping on a tether outside the crate. But let's not give up on the crate too quick, okay? I can't tell you the problems I've seen from people giving up on the crate too quick. Either a personal vendetta against boundaries, which is very anthropomorphic, meaning how would I feel in a crate? You know, to anthropomorphize is to say, how would I feel? Well, you can't say how you would feel if you were a dog. You can't say that. You just can't. So, the crate is very helpful with potty training. He gets free time 30 minutes at a time when he's already gone potty. If he goes out and doesn't go potty, he's too occupied doing other things, no problem. Come back into a boundary. Back out in 15-20 minutes, he goes potty. Now he gets 30 minutes of free time, 30 minutes of free time. Then put him in here with a bone, let him have some chill time, some play time, some independent time. Then goes outside, he goes potty, free time. He doesn't go potty, back in the pen or in the crate. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. And then we'll introduce the tether. I'll send you some links for some Amazon products. We'll introduce the tether together.
Okay.
So far we've talked about the behavioral process, which is your commitment to applying praise and pressure to healthy and unhealthy behaviors. We've talked about station, which is your commitment to rotating him like a kid in school to different stations for which have different allowable practices, different levels of arousal, different elements to them, different levels of social behavior, different ability to be destructive, different ability to follow you around and be under your feet and practice this kind of need to be next to you. The stations allow you to mitigate those things with no conflict. And a dog that can accept boundaries is a dog who finds independence and confidence in life, I promise. Number 3 is checkpoints. I want him sitting to come out of the door, all right? And I'll do a little bit of this right now. Let me put this down here. Checkpoints is his ability and willingness to wait to come out of a door. I could care less if he sits. I just want to see that he waits. Now it's kind of tricky because he's a little lazy. Not permanently lazy, but a little lazy 24 hours into his life with you, 4 months old, after having been rescued and being through who knows what in his life. But for lack of a better term, we're just saying he's a little low-key and lazy at the moment. So now you could see he's a little stressed, that big yawn, right? And I'm not one to say like, oh, he yawned, he's stressed. Like, who cares? Big deal. Stress is part of life, all right? It's part of life for all of us. However, we can still observe things. He gave a little yawn because I think with this open, he'd like to come out. But at the same time, I think that he's... Sit. Sit. Yes, good boy. Yeah, good job, bud. There you go. Nice job. So, what makes Max a little different is that 99% of dogs are rearing to come out. It's a lot easier, I would say, then to teach the dog to wait because they're motivated to come out. And what's going to open this door? Him waiting, right? Now, with that being said, I can't, with him laying there unmotivated to come out, I can't consider that a check that yes, he waited. That's not learned. He was already laying there. You follow me?
Right.
I want observable, distinguishable, repeatable, deliberate. So back over his head, his butt goes down, yes, and release. You're going to see a theme. I say the word yes every time he does something I want him to do, okay? So now I'm going to walk. This is luring. Sit. Back over his head. Sit. Yes, good boy. There you go. Learning how to take a treat. An hour ago, he couldn't figure out how to take a damn treat. Sit. Yes, good boy. Max. Sit. Max. Sit. Max. Sit. Yes, good boy. So you see how I had to facilitate the sit?
Mm-hmm.
He's not a motivated dog. Now, I'm not asking him to sit again. The last one was sloppy. We got a few good reps. I need that last rep, right? I said sit. I need that last rep. If I'm to be his teacher, I've got to hold him to it. With that being said, I think it's time for him to go out. With that being said, I hold him accountable to the final sit, right? I facilitated it, I guided his butt, I spun him around, he ate his treat. I know I'm not asking for any more sits for the moment. We're gonna slowly build up motivation. He's not very motivated. That's okay. So now it's time to go outside. Come on. See what happened right there? Okay, good boy. I'm not gonna have him sit right here because he's afraid to go out to start with. So what good will come from that? You follow me? Yeah, good boy. There you go. Come on. Yes, good boy. Yes, good boy. Yes, good boy. There you go. Nice job, bud. So did you see how I traveled?
Mm-hmm.
Like I got somewhere to be. Not rough and abrasive and reckless, but like I had somewhere to be. Like I knew where I was going. You feel me? Notice I came here and I posted. I just wanted him to get used to the fact that I'll tell you where we're going. Now I'm standing here till he pees. I'm not going anywhere till he pees. Yes, good boy. Yes, good boy. Now, why could you or someone come out here or myself 10 times without him peeing? Because we're doing this. Oh, he wants to go this way. We're moving this way. Oh no, he wants to go. We're going. Go ahead, go pee. Go ahead, go pee, right? And oh, you want to go this way? We're going this way. Go pee. He's never sitting still long enough to say, oh, I do have to pee. Oh, we're going this way. We're going this way. Go pee. Oh, he must want to pee over here. Go pee. And really what he's doing, he's saying, oh, I can walk this guy. I'm walking my trainer. I like this.
Right.
Do you see what happens? If we come to a spot, and we post, go potty. Obviously he already did, but go potty. Yes, good boy. Now after potty, what happens? Well, I'll leave this on. He goes potty. We want to reward that, right? Yes, good boy. Good job. Look at how proud he is. Good boy. Come on. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. So we come outside. If he could talk, we come outside, and when are you set free to go play? After I go pee. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, because he went pee, when we go in, he can have free time inside. Had he not gone pee in a reasonable amount of time, he would have stayed on leash. He would not be off leash right now. And we would go inside and he would go in there. People say, well, what if he would pee better off leash? That's not gonna work. He needs to be able to pee whether we put him on a tether or on a leash. Because what happens when we're traveling and it's inappropriate for him to be off leash? He just doesn't go potty? What's the answer when I need him to go potty on a leash? We're on a road trip. We're stopping on the side of the road. He needs to go potty. We're in a car.
Yeah.
Oh no, he needs to be free. Not at the truck stop, he doesn't. You see my problem?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need my dog to be comfortable with me on a leash, following my lead. So now, let's go back in, just so I can cover this with him. Come on. Yes, good boy. And again, once he gets his confidence, we'll be having him sit to come in. But right now, okay. Yes, good boy. There you go. And now some reward. Good boy. now he's been looking for water. I dropped the leash wide. He did potty outside, right? Little bit at a time. You don't need to fill this whole damn bowl. Little bit at a time, okay? He only needs that much water a few times a day.
Okay.
You don't need to fill this bowl, okay? Sit. 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 And why is there no rush? Because we got the bowl. That's why. See how he's working through, like, okay, what does he want from me? Well, obviously not jump, because you just jumped and I didn't put the bowl down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so try something else. Good boy. Yes. Okay. So now that's the reward. I don't want to pet him and distract him. The reward was that the water went down. Obviously, it's his first day, so this is a routine that you're going to stay consistent with, and he's going to say, I know how to get the water down. I sit. I know how to get the door to open. I sit. I know how to get affection. I sit. We could care less if he sits, right? That's not what's important. What's important is that we see some deliberate effort made on his part to meet an expectation of ours. And the fact that he moved on from the water is just fine. He sat for it. See how he's all weird about the leash dragging?
Yeah.
He's walking all weird like he's in wet grass. Letting a leash drag is a very, very, very good idea. Right now your door opens, he goes running. Look what I do.
Yeah.
I just step on the leash. I want to give him pressure to say no to chewing on the corner of the couch. I pick up the leash and apply a little pressure. Say no, release, next decision. Pressure, release, next decision. Okay? Continue to let him fly or fail. Don't make him succeed to where he can't screw up, because then nothing's learned. So you got to give him the over and over, next decision, next decision. So we've covered the behavioral process, praise and pressure. We've covered stations, we've covered checkpoints. Waiting to come out of here, waiting for his water. That was a checkpoint. I had something he wanted. In return, I wanted him to sit. He did, he got what he wanted. Perfect. The division of resources. It means that you don't put him on the couch or in the bed right now. The reason is that we want to see him comfortable on the floor, on his four paws that he was born on, before we start to put him up on our furniture. Got it? Simple as that. And just trust me on it, please. Also, division of resources means that we don't always include him in everything. It's okay for you to have a meal. Now, you live here alone. Makes sense to have the dog with you, right? Well, what'd you do all these years without a dog? You figured out a way to have dinner. Mm-hmm. Don't always include him in everything. It's okay to put him in here and then have your supper. It's okay to mow the lawn and leave him inside. It's okay to mow the lawn and bring him outside. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're both okay. Division of resources also includes our space as a resource, and to say that our space is our own. You end up with dogs who are very insecure and nervous and anxious, who have had the availability of their owners unconditionally. They don't know how to not be in your space, which means they don't know how to not possess you, which means they don't know how to be your student and you be the teacher, because you don't learn from that which you possess. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't learn from the things that you have ownership of. You just own them. All right? So it's important that he doesn't get the sense of being manipulative and possessive over you, because it will very much oppose his ability to trust you. And that's quite important. And then last but not least is the 15-minute rule. I want you to get home from work, get up in the morning, come in from mowing the lawn, come in from the grocery store, come in from a picnic, and ignore him 15 minutes. Station says that he'll likely be in the pen or in his crate or on a tether if you weren't in the room, of course, right? Makes sense. He's a puppy, he's potty training. You're not leaving him unattended. If you're not available because you're going to go take a shower, or you're going to use the bathroom, or you're going to mow the lawn, he goes pen or he goes crate. Got it?
Okay.
That's just for now.
Okay.
Stick to it. Has a lot to do with potty training, but it also has a lot to do with his confidence, I promise. So 15 minutes means that he's in the pen or he's in the crate or he's on a tether. He has some boundary where he doesn't have immediate access to you on site. And you're going to wait 15 minutes from when you enter the room with him before you acknowledge him, interact with him, put him on a leash, take him out to go potty. Give it 15 minutes. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, it convinces him that the world does not revolve around him, and that's true. It's good for him to know that. No dog nor person wants the burden. And if you don't believe me, go check on Britney Spears. Go check on Justin Bieber. Go check on Macaulay Culkin. Go check on any young person who had the world revolving around them. They fall apart. And it's pretty obvious. It's too much pressure trying to live up to that. So when the dog feels as though you coming home from work was for them, the human mentality says, oh, that must fill their cup. Absolutely not. It's a bag and a burden they shouldn't have to carry with them. The idea that me at 36 years old and living for my dog becomes such an unnecessary burden for them. Because now what do they do? If everything's about them, then, you know, it's the idea that you put someone on stage, and if they don't have something prepared, they act like a fool because they have to put on a show for you. When the world revolves around the dog and the dog's not quite sure what to do with themselves, they start to do a lot of things that are not sincere. Okay? So, 15 minutes, 1, tells them that the world does not revolve around them, and number 2, it gives them a chance to calm down before you interact, so that your interaction, which has affection in it naturally, is reinforcing calm energy. If we interact with the dog too quickly after getting inside from mowing the lawn or coming home from the store or getting home from work or getting up in the morning, we give the message that we live for the dog. And then the dog's energy is very high because that's very exciting. It can also be nerve-wracking that everything's about them. And then by the time we reinforce them with our affection, we've reinforced high energy. Dogs learn the best when they're peaceful. Dogs learn the most when they're peaceful. They do not learn the best at a high level of intensity. You got that?
Okay.
So, go ahead and stop that. That's the long version. Now